We're going to begin with a special guest, José Miguel Cansado. José Miguel is executive in technology and consulting industries. He is offering strategic advice, applying disruptive technologies to transform businesses and initiatives. Welcome. How are you? How are you,
thank you.
José Miguel?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to participate in South Summit.
Okay. José Miguel is partner in Alto Analytics, and I've got a couple of questions for you, José Miguel. Why don't we start with, how has the meaning and importance of public data evolved for companies over the last 10 years?
Well, the abundance of data, I think, is making the concept of data-driven decisions a reality. There is no longer an excuse not to make decisions based on evidence and data, because there is plenty of data out there. And one example of this is the growth we have had with Alto Analytics, working with large organizations worldwide to turn data available in the digital public sphere, that means in the internet out there, into knowledge and intelligence for better decisions for large companies, for large organizations in general. But it wasn't always like this, because what we did at Alto by analyzing social media and internet sources was first relevant only to the social media departments and to the communications and reputation. Then it went also to be interesting to market research for customers' insights, then to cybersecurity to understand threats and identify threats. And then the main change we've seen recently is that it's more and more relevant to CEOs. Right? The power of public opinion expressed sometimes through social networks and digital platforms has never been greater than now. And it affects business in many ways, because it changes market trends, regulations, or also because sometimes this information is involved and hostile actors are in place driving activism attacks or using other cyber means to attack organizations. So to give you an example also how these things, data has changed in some organizations. 10 years ago, for instance, the communications director of many of the companies we work with was the last guy to be involved in strategic board decisions. Typically, the communications director was the one that was only involved to inform press and media after the decision was made. Now, that's no longer the case. Right? Empowered by data from the digital public sphere, the communications director now brings intelligence to the board and to the CEO to inform strategic decisions. So he is involved before the decision is made, because there is a lot of data out there that can be transformed into value and into intelligence. And we help them do that. And this is just one example of how data, and all kinds of data, including public external data from the internet, has become more and more relevant to large organizations.
And tell me, José Miguel, very quickly now, what are some of the challenges or opportunities that data-driven companies have today? Just very quickly.
Yeah, so we have three main challenges. We see three main challenges. The challenge one, to promote a data-driven culture. So data is there, but it's worthless unless you put the means to extract value from it. And this starts with a data-driven culture. And again, the example is data out there in the digital public sphere that represents huge opportunity to provide answers to strategic questions. But the companies need to embed that data analysis into the business process. And the key is to find persons with the curiosity of the urge to ask those questions and understand what those answers means and how they can be used to inform with data their decisions. Which leads us to the second challenge. And the second challenge is the lack of skills and expertise in companies. And there is a need for specific data profiles. I mean, turning data into knowledge requires three types of profiles. Data engineers, which handle all data computing and so on. Data scientists, which model algorithms to extract data, to extract value out of data. And what we call business translator. That's the person who connects the dots of what's possible, of what questions can be asked to data, which ones are relevant, and how they can be answered with data. And this is the hardest profile to find, but also the one that brings the highest value.
All right.
And the third challenge, and probably the most important one, is that big data is also available for criminals today. This makes cybersecurity even more relevant than before. So one example is the amount of information from data breaches that is available to cyber criminals for orchestrating fraud or ransomware attacks. The executives, especially in these times with remote work, are more exposed than ever to digital risk. Their personal data might be part of those data breaches available to attackers without them knowing. So what happens when an executive is exposed? Well, imagine that the executive can be used as a vector of attack for a company. So the type of ransomware that is the most common attack we've seen lately, and the one we see lately is called the big hunt. Instead of targeting consumers to get $100 out of each, now criminals focus on attacking large corporations, asking ransoms of several million in return.
Thank you, José Miguel.
That is compromised, that's a big issue for them.
All right, thank you so much.